She came with the fall of night. Her army of vampires, assassins, and ruthless mercenaries quickly surrounded us. I gathered my troops and told them to stick together. Then, suddenly a massive sphere of dark energy appeared and exploded right in the middle of our party. My men were lying immobilized on the ground. The very few of them that survived the blast started fighting against each other, slaying their brothers in a sudden flash of madness. When I saw the vampires feeding on the flesh of the dead, I knew it was all over. We could do nothing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Spellweaver. My name is Boltor.
And I am the Foz.
And today we wanted to bring you a DLC deck straight from the developers of Spellweaver themselves. This deck, otherwise known as Vampire Overlord, surrounds itself with Despina, Dominion Overlord, and her hero power, which has both an impact against control decks and aggro decks alike. The hero power is Tempting Lure. Pay any amount of mana, search the enemy hero's deck for a creature with a combined level and mana equal to that number, put it onto the field under your control, shuffle the enemy hero's deck. So you get to take something from their deck and use it as your own. Now, Fuzz will go into detail about what the cards actually do and how they work together.
Thank you, Boltor. So we're just going to go ahead and cover them in terms of mana cost. So starting from the bottom, you've got the Spoiled Aristocrat, which is a very aggressive card for a 1-drop with 3 attack, allowing you to put immediate pressure on your opponent. You have to play another creature to make him able to attack, but that's very rarely an issue. You follow that up with your Shadow Step Assassin, who, despite having a low attack, his high speed, along with deadly, which means he kills anything that he fights with, allows him to serve as a very good bodyguard for your other creatures, and also trades very efficiently against anything else, both early and late in the game. Now for your 3-drops, you've got 2 options. You've got the Silverblade Warrior, which, despite not having any abilities, is just a very solid creature for the cost with a good body and speed, which will further help you control the board. Your other is the Force Mage Protector, one of 2 Wisdom cards. His ability allows you to put a shield on one of your other creatures or himself, which protects that creature from the first time it gets hit by something, specifically damage, which gives you even more options to get the favorable trades and control the board. For your bigger guys, we've got the Library Guards, who combines both a good body and high speed, along with card draw, making him just a great all-purpose card to have. And your other guy, the Blood-Seeking Mutant, with his ability to put a weakness emblem, a -1/-1 on an enemy creature, or your own, but you don't generally want to do that, you can use it to remove pesky enemy threats that you maybe otherwise can't reach because they're on the support row, and because he gets bigger whenever such a creature dies, he can potentially get even larger later in the game. Now for their spell lineup, we've got the Mind Extortion, which for just 1 mana serves as a early warning system, warning you of whatever threats might be in your opponent's hand. Not only do you get to see their cards, you can even pick a spell or artifact and get rid of it. So if there's a spell or artifact that is particularly dangerous, perhaps a removal spell, it's gone. Moving on, we've got Assassinate, which is just a straight up card. Remove an enemy threat that maybe you otherwise can't kill. We've got the Metabolic Overcharger, which is just a monster of a card if you can put it on one of your smaller guys. +3/+3 and unstoppable, which means that when it attacks a creature, it hits through it and hits the enemy's face. Putting this on or a 1 or a 2-drop creates a monster that many decks will just not even be able to deal with, and you'll deal massive damage and kill several smaller creatures with it. So very powerful card, very strong if you can play it on curve on a creature. Now the last 3 cards are more of a late game thing. The Helm of Dominion is your answer to really big threats that you either can't reach with Assassinate or are just too big for your board to deal with. Put a Helm on it, it's yours. The other one, Cataclysm. This is what you play when you've lost board control and you need to start all over again. Drop a Cataclysm, it's like hitting a reset button. And finally, Vampires, which is otherwise known as your I Win card, gives all your creatures a buff and lifebound, which means they gain you life when they deal damage. So you can either regain all the life you may have lost, or just gain so much life that your opponent can never win. You lose a little bit of life at the start of each turn, but your creatures will more than make up for it when they attack. Now there's one last card, and that's the Cathedral of the Night, which is the skill shrine of choice. This allows you to remotely put weakness emblems on the creatures with a cooldown of 3, and this is good for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's extra removal with life gain, but secondly, it has synergy with the Blood-Seeking Mutant, because if you put that weakness emblem and kill something, he gets even bigger. So that's essentially the shell of a deck, very aggressive, but with a controlling hero power. So Boltor, why don't you tell us about the matchups?
This deck is a very strong matchup against both aggressive and controlling decks alike. It gives you an advantage in the aggro matchup by having cheap removal, creatures that it can trade up and trade early very effectively, the ability to remove smaller creatures, and the ability to outlast them with card draw and other such abilities. It has a strong matchup against the control decks by being able to outvalue them with cards that allow you to take creatures from your opponent and the ability to outdraw them. And this deck gives you an edge against opponents by having a very strong curve and the ability to drop pretty much an impactful card on the board every single turn. And that's pretty much going to do it for this discussion of the deck. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with some gameplay of this deck in action.
Vampire Overlord, here we go. Our opponent for the day is our good friend Boltor. How you doing, Boltor?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to hear. Looks like I'm going first. We'll just wait for Boltor to confirm his hand.
This is a keepable hand.
What do we got? We're going to go ahead and send back Vampirism because that's an expensive card and we're not going to play it for a while. We have nothing to play for 1 mana, so we'll just go ahead and wait.
I, on the other hand, do have something for 1 mana. I summon my Steelhost Spearman.
Very well. We got the Cathedral of the Night here, so we'll just go ahead and activate it, but we can't use it yet. We need a second aspect. Oh, we redrew the Vampirism too. Send it back. We could use Assassinate to kill it, but we're actually just gonna wait. See what else Boltor plays.
I'm summoning my Zombie Legionnaire, and I will attack you with my Spearman.
Now, the Zombie Legionnaire is a little bit bigger, so we're gonna go ahead and assassinate that instead. We're only taking 1 damage from the Spearman, so that's not that big of a deal. Alright. Now we have a choice. We can either go up Wisdom Shrine, which will allow us to play the Force Mage Protector and later Library Guards, or we could play the Silverblade Warrior. I think we're going to go for the Protector here, who has the ability to put a shield on himself or another creature to protect it. We'll send that back. Over to you, Boltor.
Well, I'm going to have myself a pretty powerful turn. First things first, I'm going to activate my Noxious Fumes and kill your Force Mage Protector. Then, I'm going to activate Champion's Honor and put a Might Emblem on my Spearman. And I'm going to attack you for 2.
We can't do anything about that. The shield would not have protected the Force Mage Protector from the Noxious Fumes, unfortunately, so it is what it is. But now we have some options. Now, we gotta keep a look on his hero power. He does not have any other soldiers in the graveyard, so he cannot buff it up any further. So we can just go ahead and summon a Library Guards, which also draws us a card, which is really nice. As we're getting ready for the late game where our hero power will start to turn the tide.
Well, speaking of turning the tide, I play my Master Tactician to make my Spearman even bigger, and he will devour your Library Guards.
Strong play by Boltor.
And, to make things even better, I activate my Spark of Initiative and summon another Steel Host Spearman.
Very well. We're going to have to deal with this Tactician sooner or later. Now, Assassinate only targets 2 attack or less, so in order to facilitate that, we're going to use our Vampiric Touch to downsize him slightly. And we got 1 mana left over, so we'll just use Mind Extortion to take a look at his hand. Ooh, he's got some nice cards here. Of these two, I think Instill Life is a bit more dangerous. Bringing back 2 creatures sounds like a bad time for me. Now we're taking some damage here, but we'll be able to make a comeback next turn.
Well, while you bide your time, I summon my Dwarf Spellbreaker, and I rally the peasants, and I attack you for 7.
The peasants have been rallied. So we know the last card in his hand is Pacify. I'm going to send back this Overcharger. And now, we're going to do a little trick play. We're going to play the Blood-Seeking Mutant, putting a weakness emblem on the Steel Host. It doesn't die, but the only reason it's alive is because it is being powered up by the Master Tactician, whom we will now go ahead and eliminate, which will weaken his entire board and strengthen our mutant considerably. And now we're back on the board.
But you have powered up my soldiers, for they remember their fallen comrade. And because of that, I can use Champion's Honor to strengthen my Dwarf Spellbreaker. And I will attack and kill your mutant, as well as deal damage to your face.
The mutant dies, but not before taking one of those guys with him. So we've managed to contain the board, which is good. We have wow, look at this. We have 2 more mutants. Mutant is an excellent card for eliminating pesky soldiers. We're going to just downsize this guy slightly. And we're going to go ahead and kill the 1/1 militia, strengthening both of our mutants. And now we control the board.
But thankfully, I can continue to power up my Spellbreaker with Champion's Honor. And I will attack and kill one of your mutants.
We have to let it happen. But it's okay, we still have the last creature on the board. Now, it's time we show Boltor the true meaning of power. We're going to just go ahead, make our third aspect, which lets us use our hero power, Tempting Lure, which essentially will let me look through his deck and search for a creature of a certain combined mana cost. Now, I only have 6 mana, and the hero power costs 1, so I can only spend up to 5. And we know of a 5-cost card that he has that's really powerful. It's none other than the Master Tactician himself. So we're just going to take it from him. Now, he has a Pacify, so we will not attack with the mutant just yet. But we got a creature out of his deck, and that means he can't use it.
And I pass my turn.
It looks like Boltor doesn't want to expose any of his soldiers just yet. That's alright. Well, we're going to have to attack eventually. So we'll swing in with the mutant and let him be pacified. There it is.
I answer by pacifying him back to your deck.
We were going to have to deal with that pacify sooner or later.
And I summon my Undead Necromancer, who I can also make bigger through Champion's Honor, and allows me to rally the peasants.
Luckily, we have been prepared. We're going to do the same trick as before, where we use Vampiric Touch to reduce a creature a bit. And now we can just assassinate it and get rid of it. Now, we want to attack here, but he might have some more tricks like Pacify. So let's have a look, shall we? Oh, look at that. Pacify. We're just going to get rid of that, thank you very much. And we're going to send this filthy little peasant back to the village. And now it's gone. We might as well summon the Aristocrat to have a bigger presence on the board.
Well, I have my most powerful spell card in the deck. I activate Infernal Tribute, forcing you to sacrifice 2 creatures.
That's certainly painful. Now, admittedly, one of those creatures was his, so I technically only lose 1.
And now I pass play to you.
And now our hero power is active again. Let's try that one more time. For 5, we've got Master Tactician and the Necromancer. Necromancer is deadly, so we're going to pick that up. And we'll summon the Shadow Step, who is also deadly. So we've got a lot of deadly creatures on the board.
I play my Elite Vanguard. I rally the peasants, and I will make my peasant bigger. On top of that, I will play Consume Spirit, sucking the life out of your Shadow Step Assassin.
You will suffer for that, Boltor. Alright. Ooh. That's a nice looking card. Vampirism. Power boost to everything on my board, and they gain Lifebound. So we're just going to go ahead and... Actually, we're going to play the Helm of Dominion to just take control of his Vanguard and eliminate this pesky villager.
And I have no response.
And we get our life back. Now we turn the tide back in our favor.
Well, let's see if I can't draw myself into an answer. Ah, there we go. I will summon my Infected Survivor and my Steelhull Spearman, and I will make my Infected Survivor 1 bigger.
Now his guys have 3 speed, which is slightly annoying, which means we cannot attack them. But we can use Vampiric Touch to drain this guy, so he can't block. And put an Overcharger on the Necromancer, making him a huge 6/7 with Lifebound, Deadly, and Unstoppable. He's got everything going for him. And we're just going to go ahead and hang out with Bolter's face.
I will block your 3/3 Vanguard.
And we gain a massive amount of life. And next turn, we just keep stealing his creatures. Sooner or later, he's going to run out. And our victory will be complete.
I summon a Zombie Legionnaire, and I make my first Legionnaire bigger, rally the peasants, and strike at your face.
Try as you might, you cannot contain our power. We will drain the life of all of your... Well, I guess some of these guys are already dead. Cataclysm. Well, we don't need that right now. What we do want to do is keep taking his creatures. Now, we've hit the 5 cost several times, so let's try... Well, hang on. Let's see what kind of creatures are in Bolter's graveyard. He's been sending a lot of them back. All the Tacticians seems to have been returned to his deck, so we can search for them again. Ah, there we go. And that coincidentally improves our Vanguard. And thanks to Unstoppable, we're going to do extra damage to Boltor's face as well.
And I have no response.
The life flows through us.
I summon my Dwarf Spellbreaker, who gains a speed boost because you control a spell. And I'm going to use Champion's Honor to make him even bigger. Now,
you're noticing these weakness counters that are coming down on my guys. It's because cards like Overcharger, the longer they stay attached to a creature, the weaker the creature becomes. So sooner or later, they're going to run out of steam. You know, that Spellbreaker looks pretty good. I think we'll just borrow it for a little bit. And a second Vampirism for a tremendous power boost. More than enough to destroy Boltor and his soldiers.
And I have no response. And
we end the game with over 30 life. Thanks for joining us, Boltor. It's always nice to have you.
Always nice being here.